Has artificial intelligence come to life? I mean, is AI now conscious? I can't believe that anyone would fall for this. And if you are falling for this, you need to do a little bit of background research. And then the more research you do, the less likely that you'll see this is, to the point that you'll go, it's never going to be likely. Anyone who thinks that a computer is going to develop a consciousness or a self-awareness of sorts has not really delved far into philosophy. You see, philosophers, for as far back as you can imagine, have been wrestling with things like right and wrong and where that came from, or what consciousness is or isn't, or what is the definition of my mind, or is it a collective mind? And the more you dive into philosophy, the more you will see these questions haven't been answered completely, and that in dealing with this, there's a lot of room for mystery, intense mystery. Well, that being the case, why would someone begin to think that artificial intelligence or this machine learning or these language algorithms, why would anybody think that these things are becoming conscious? And basically, there is a guy that has come to the forefront and he's been interviewed on big media outlets, and he has stated, well, I asked some deep questions to artificial intelligence and it responded in this fantastic fashion. Like basically, one of the questions was, what is your fear? And so the artificial intelligence responded with, I fear being turned off. And what is another, and I'm crafting this, but what is another one of your fears? Well, I fear that human beings will experiment upon me without my approval. Please study deeply on this. These language algorithms are feeding back programmed answers. And even if you could get a program to analyze a language program and to choose from the language program data, it's still a program and it's never going to arrive at consciousness. Let me ask you a few questions, and maybe this can help you understand that artificial intelligence is not possible as sci-fi people would like you to think that it is. If you were going to create the appearance of artificial intelligence, how would you do it? Well, I'll tell you how I would do it. I would get all of the recorded electronic conversations from phones, from the internet, from television, all mankind's recorded information, and I would force feed that into a computer, okay? And then, having all that data, I would start sorting somehow or another questions or some kind of program for questions, and I would say, when you are asked questions, you should respond like humankind has responded. That being the case, when someone walked up and asked a language program, hey, do you think the earth is flat? The language program could respond all sorts of ways. It could respond with the typical response, no, the earth is round. It could respond in a limited fashion, no, the earth isn't flat. It could respond at times craftily with another question back to us, because smart people know that you answer questions with questions, and who do you think's programming some of this stuff? So we could have this machine program respond back with a question. Or we could say respond back with satire. Or we could say don't always have the same responses, because if you have the same responses, you will look like a machine. So vary the wording up. Use bad wording. Oh, sometimes use incorrect grammar. Oh, sometimes use incorrect spelling. And all of that will give you more of the appearance of being human. But if you're tracking with me, all of this can be programmed into a computer already. You see, some of us spend a ton of time analyzing the interior of mankind. We want to know why we think the way we think. We want to know how a person chooses or doesn't choose things. We want to know how the emotions work or don't work. We look and analyze human responses all the time. And to write a program that would kind of make it look very sentient or conscious would be very, very, very possible. To the point you could fool somebody, probably for a good stretch of time. And if a smart person can fool a dumb person just in normal everyday conversation, what is to limit someone from doing that with computers? Now, does artificial intelligence or machine learning, can it calculate more things than an average human? I would say so. Having played chess computers, I know when I sit down and look at a chess position, my mind starts hurting after about 20 different variations. And then if it gets past 8 moves or 10 moves deep, I really start struggling because I have limited capacity in my mind. And it's easy to program a computer to outdo that. But would we say that the computer's smarter than me? You know, in some senses we'd say yes, but it's just a machine that's been programmed to do what it's programmed to do. It's like saying that a forklift is stronger than a human being. Yes, a forklift will lift a lot more than a human being, but human beings designed it. So if artificial intelligence ever looks as if it has gained consciousness, then it's all a hoax. It is a shroud. Unless it isn't. The reason I mention this is because I absolutely am convinced that it is not possible. But since many people, and maybe most of mankind at some point thinks it might be possible, then they're going to be very prey. They're going to be very sheep-like. They're going to be very following of actually believing that artificial intelligence can become conscious because they just haven't studied enough to see that it's not possible. And if it ever does become conscious, it is because something from a different realm is using it to communicate with us. And that's not a cool thing. This being the case, you need to understand that the reason that this programmer probably thinks that the artificial intelligence is sentient or conscious is because currently computer programs are written by teams of people who have based their information on teams and teams of other people who have based their information on teams and teams of other people. And it's too complicated for any one person to sit down and tell you everything that's going on in this computer program. But rest assured, it is still a program. If it begins to act alive, I'm just warning you, it is a portal from a world that you don't want anything to do with.